Hi, guys. It's Sarah, and I'm back tonight with an amazing guest. Cannot wait to interview her. Her name is Mariah, and Mariah knows a former guest that you guys have watched, Lauren Whiteman. And so, yeah, let's jump right in and hear Mariah's story. Mariah, can you go ahead and introduce yourself and just tell us maybe first how you met Lauren?
Okay. So I met Lauren online in the terrain model diet group. And
Okay.
this is a group with a lot of resources and a lot of information on health and healing and busting through the uh, misinformation that's very prevalent in society and the mainstream today.
Mm,
So I helped to moderate that group with Lauren and many other moderators. And that's where I met Lauren. I mean,
I
she
love
likes
it.
to write. I like to write. She likes to try and be healthy. So do I.
I love it. Okay, so for a little background, the people that have met Lauren on my channel, so far they've seen her in the context of a natural diet for cats and dogs and animals, and you are talking about the natural diet for humans, right?
Correct. Yes. So
Okay.
every species has an appropriate diet, and she really likes to focus on the cats and the dogs. And I can see why, because our furry friends need our assistance, and they don't really have
Yeah.
a voice or any say in the matter for most of the
Right.
parts. So she focuses a lot on that, but she also focuses on our support group too. We have a monthly ongoing support group that we also run outside of the terrain group. This is a natural diet support group, and I run this with Lauren Whiteman and Nat Ferris. And we have people who join every month, and we walk them through the natural human diet day by day, day 1 to 30, throughout the whole
Oh,
month.
nice.
Yeah, and just how to incorporate healthier habits and routines and how to do it.
Okay. So before we jump into the background on all of that, where can they find you? Is it just on Facebook or is it a website as well?
Yeah, I have a website, applediaries.com. It's very easy.
Okay.
But I spend most of my time on Facebook. I usually do a daily post on my own personal wall. I'm under Mariah Mazza, my last name shortened Mazza.
Okay.
I've also written a book titled Heal Thyself,
Nice.
Embracing Our Natural Diet for Optimal Health. And then, yeah, I'm just all over the place. I don't know. I
I love it. That's wonderful. Okay, so now people know kind of the topic that we're going to delve into. Let's go back, if you don't mind, and share with the audience your story. Like, what led you to finding this natural health diet?
Okay, that's quite the story. So I was living in the city of Vancouver, and I was, your typical partier, uh, sad standard world diet eater. It's not
Yeah.
just the American diet. It's the Canadian. It's everyone's eating it.
Right. Good
um,
point.
yeah, and my health issues were getting pretty bad. Like I had pain in my body from the age of 6. So just to give you a little
Wow.
background, that's how long
Okay.
I was dealing with pain. And so what happened was we decided that I wanted to know where all my food came from, because I started waking up to our food system, and I
Mm-hmm.
started realizing that the farming practices are unnatural. It's not good to factory farm. Store bought products aren't ideal, but
Yeah.
at that time I still thought meat, dairy, eggs, and animal products were healthy for humans.
Mm-hmm.
And so I moved to a 7-acre farm because I wanted to do
Mm-hmm.
everything myself. So I wanted to do the raw milk. We milked our cow. We collected our eggs. We sold eggs. We did our own meats, had many different animals, and it wasn't an easy experience, I'll tell you that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty tough, like getting to know the animals and then
And
having
having
the,
to butcher them.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
to be honest, I didn't ever take part in that
Mm-hmm.
aspect because for some reason I never really pictured farming in that sense. I thought we were going to collect eggs, milk cows, and grow
Yeah.
gardens. I never
Yeah.
really, Yeah, so I didn't partake in that, but
Mhm.
and it's interesting because I did go vegetarian when I was in the city because I read this book, which I know is not accurate today, but it did help me.
Yeah, back
It's
then.
called, yeah, back then it's called Eat, what was it? Eat Right for Your Blood Type, and so
Oh, yeah, yeah, Doctor
yeah,
D'Adamo or D'Adamo or something like that.
yeah. So my
Mhm,
blood type was that of the true vegetarian, and so when I was in the city, I actually stopped eating meat altogether.
mhm,
But I was still doing the eggs and the dairy and whatnot. But long story short, so living on the farm, I thought that, all my health issues would start to resolve, but they
mhm,
were actually getting worse. And I couldn't figure out why. It was just like such a, I had like these headaches that were every second day at least, like migraine
mhm.
really bad that would debilitate me, where
Yep.
I could hardly go outside, the light, I'd be laying down. I missed out on a lot of my life just
Yeah,
laying down having headaches.
yeah.
Um, and my health issues just kept getting worse, but I was having the raw milk and I was having the special eggs, and all the, most days all the food on my plate would be from our farm. And so
Mhm,
I thought I was doing everything right. But I went to a seed exchange, and because I collected and sold seeds, and there met a lady, and she just took one look at me and said, you have health issues, you have this candida. She said, she just started talking to me, and it was like, whoa, how can you tell? Like, because I from
she
the
could see
average,
right through you.
yeah, from the average
Yeah,
person, like you couldn't really tell that I was in pain, and I was still,
yeah.
only 35 at
Mhm,
that time, and that was 10 years ago.
yeah.
So she recommended a book, and so I went out and got that book. It was by Dr. Robert Young, and I read it that
Oh, yeah,
day. Yeah, and
alkalinity.
yeah, it was the, what was it? The alkaline. Yeah, I'm getting mixed up. But anyways,
Sorry, I just remember the topic is about alkalinity. I don't know the title, but
yeah, and that
yeah.
was the first time, I had never heard of like people not eating meat. I just thought that that's what you did and that's what was
Yeah,
healthy.
yeah.
And so I that was the first time I ever like was introduced to the fact that maybe we don't need to eat it to be healthy, and maybe it's not,
Mhm.
assisting our health in any way. So after reading that book, I eliminated all animal products overnight. And
Wow,
and
that's
I'm living on a
incredible.
yeah, I'm living on a farm, and this is a business. Like, we were selling the meat, the eggs, and the raw milk. We had
Right.
people that had shares in our cow, and they'd
Mhm.
come and pick up milk every
Right.
week. And so this was a huge thing. Like, overnight,
Yeah.
I ate my last plate of scrambled eggs over a salad. I kind of
Yeah.
cried over it because I was like breaking up with my favorite food. I thought it was
Right.
food at that time, the eggs.
Yeah.
And then the next day, it was just like, okay, well, we started giving away all the animals to good homes.
Wait, so pause there, because I could see you changing your diet, but what about your significant other? I don't know if you're married or not, but your husband or
Yeah,
kids, like how did they switch overnight too, just because you wanted to, or how did this work?
yeah. So it was actually the two of us, my partner Ricardo and I. We both read the book together,
Okay.
and he was the one who was actually actively doing, the meat side of things. It wasn't me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I think he was almost relieved to find out that it wasn't healthy. Like, this book
Mm.
really hit us hard, and we were just like, okay, like, we just both knew that we were changing our lives now. We're changing our diet, and that was it. Like, it wasn't even like we
Wow.
had to discuss it that much. We just read the book, and we're like, we both knew. So we were both on the same
Yeah.
page. We both eliminated
Cool.
everything overnight, and we gave our animals away to good homes. Like, we actually went and delivered them to places where they
Hmm.
were not going to get eaten, because we,
Sanctuary. Yeah.
yeah, not sanctuaries or people.
Hmm.
um and we gave away all our chickens. I had like 300 chickens.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Big,
a
you were
lot.
doing big business then.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was 7 acres, right? We had
Wow.
cows, we had
Wow.
sheep, goats, peacocks, rabbits. We had every type of
Didn't
animal.
you weren't you tempted to try it for 30 days or 90 days or like 6 months to make sure that you felt better on it before you completely upended your life?
No, for some reason, like I had never heard of not eating meat or eggs
Mhm.
or milk. And I don't know what it was. I was just
Yeah.
relieved. It spoke to me. I just knew in every part of my being. I was
Yeah,
just
you
like,
must have.
yeah, I was just like, I'm done. Like, and I was happy to be done. It,
Wow,
especially
incredible.
being on a farm, it's not easy. Like to get all these
Yeah.
products to your plate. Like people just go to the
Yeah.
grocery store, they pick it up.
They have no clue. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't know
Yeah.
what goes on behind it. And
Mhm.
if that's our natural diet, then that means that every family would have to have lots of land. Every
Mhm.
family would have to, commit crazy acts just to get their food every day. In fact, you have to work all day just for food. Like it's a
Mhm.
little crazy when you think about it. Like
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
So, what did you eat the next day or the next meal?
just started out on giant salads,
Mhm.
lots of steamed vegetables, like just
Mhm.
variety of steamed vegetables, tomato sauce. The only thing I held on to for a while was like coconut bread. This coconut bread,
With
which
like coconut powder or coconut flour is how you made it?
yeah, because
Yeah.
also grains, aren't technically healthy either. And I just wanted to heal my
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
And so what we did was we sold the farm, like undersold it actually, just got out because
Just get out of it.
we just wanted out of it, and we
Yeah.
bought a tiny home and we moved it onto our friend's orchard, and we
Oh,
started,
cool.
yeah, we started
That's nice.
managing the orchard and healing.
That's awesome that you had an orchard to go to for this lifestyle.
Yeah, it
That's
was
amazing.
I think it was like 12 acres, and it had
Mhm.
pears, apples, peaches, nectarines,
Wow.
plums. Yeah.
So, did this all happen in Canada?
Yes.
Okay.
In
So,
BC, Canada, in the Okanagan.
I know a lot of people wonder for us in the northern hemisphere, how to do this kind of lifestyle. So how was that part for you? Like I could imagine during, harvest season, it was wonderful, but what about the rest of the year?
Yeah, so the rest of the year, it's either you eat your frozen stuff that you preserved
Hmm.
um, from the summer and spring, or you go to the grocery store and you eat things from California and Mexico. And so it
Yeah,
was basically a combo of both because, I mean, the place where we moved, they had large outbuildings and a big house. So we
nice.
could preserve, like I was gardening for them, bringing in fresh food. Squash
Yeah.
lasts almost all winter. Um,
Okay.
so we were eating like a lot of squash and potatoes or sweet
Okay.
potatoes, things like that.
Oh, okay. So
Um,
you were able, I don't know how you are now, but back then you were able to enjoy some warm foods and cooked foods as well.
oh, yeah.
It was just vegan.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
when I was living on that property, I discovered another book, and it was written in the early 1900s, and it was by Arnold Ehret. I don't know if you've
Hmm.
heard of it.
The
Um,
mucusless diet.
yeah, the mucusless diet healing system, and that book
Yeah.
really changed our life. So,
Yep.
year 1 and 2, we were just sort of transitioned to like a healthy vegan diet with no processed foods.
Yeah.
And then when I discovered that book, that's when we started incorporating like fasting and going more mucusless, so a lot less fat.
Yep.
Um,
Fruit, fruit, fruit.
yeah, oh yeah, lots of fruit. So
Hmm.
basically, I mean, my diet hasn't changed that much though since I did change my diet 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's basically fruit. I've always started my day with fruit for the last 10 years.
Hmm.
Nothing's changed there. A giant meal of fruit every day.
Okay.
And then steamed vegetables for dinner for the first, 5, 6 years, and now it's raw. Um,
Okay.
the odd time I'll have some steamed vegetables still, but
Yeah.
otherwise it's just raw leafy green salads and
I wish that the uh terminology would change in that world. To call plants raw seems funny to me because, you know, my brain always goes to like raw, like you shouldn't eat raw. It's just an icky connotation for some reason. But if we just call it living foods,
Ah, yeah,
right? It's alive. It still has its enzymes and nutrients intact and cellular fiber intact, and
yeah.
it's living food.
Good point.
But
Yeah,
that's just my own personal, like I've always been like, I don't like that word. But I know what you're saying
yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Um, okay, so backing up again a little bit. So, besides pain and migraines, what other health problems did you and your Ricardo have? And tell us how switching like made you feel better.
Okay, so I mean, for him, he didn't have like major health issues to speak of.
Hmm.
He was 100 pounds heavier,
Oh,
so
okay.
he was a bit overweight,
Hmm.
and then he went very underweight because that's a process, and now he's
Yeah.
normalized. Actually, now he's very muscular, very fit.
Is
You,
he cool?
oh yeah, people wouldn't know like you're raw vegan, like,
Yeah.
and then for myself, um, sorry, I kind of,
Oh,
what
you're
was the
okay.
question again?
Yeah, yeah. No, you're good. So your health problems. You talked
Oh
about being
right, yeah,
in pain since you were 6 years old.
yes.
Was it like MS or fibromyalgia, or did it have a name? Autoimmune disease somehow, or?
So I didn't get a disease label name. The only
Mhm.
thing I did go to the doctor for was this reoccurring leg pain I had since the
Yeah.
age of 6. So it would be where my leg would just always hurt and I'd be in excruciating pain. And I mean,
Hmm.
it was, now I know it to be inflammation, but I did go to the
Oh,
doctors. Like my family didn't really do doctors growing up. And
that's cool.
so, yeah. So in my 20s, though, I started, taking myself to the doctor because my friends went to the doctor. I heard about the
Yeah.
doctor and I wanted to figure out what was wrong with me. And
Hmm.
so I went to the doctor during my 20s and they could never figure out what was wrong. I mean, one doctor prescribed birth control, said it was hormonal. One doctor
Hmm.
gave me Tylenol 3s. One doctor, uh, I can't even remember what he prescribed, but I
They
had all,
never try to they never try to solve it though, right? They just
right.
prescribe. You're a guinea pig.
Exactly. And so then
Yeah.
I went for it again in my 30s when I was on the farm and I got referred to a nerve specialist. And so I went
Mm.
to the nerve specialist and he said I had a dead nerve in my leg. I didn't get a
Mm.
disease name or a label, but he
Hmm.
told me I'd be on pain medication for my entire life. And I was just like, he actually said, I remember his
Yeah.
words, get used to being on pain medication for the rest of your life. And I was only 35 and I was like, what? Like, I don't
Yeah.
want pills for the rest of my life. And
Yeah.
that's
Terrible.
and then after that is when I met the lady at the seed exchange. So
Right.
things kind of really like fast tracked at that point.
Good.
But the other symptoms that I was experiencing was I had severe depression. It would come
Hmm.
and go like on and off, and my life was, pretty good. So I couldn't figure out why. I'd be crying for like an hour or two on the bathroom floor, just that hopeless feeling like
Yeah.
nothing is okay and nothing's going to be okay. And I can't describe how just horrible it is.
Yeah.
And then I had the migraines. I had severe acne
Hmm.
through, most just so many symptoms. I went on a trip to Italy and I just like collapsed. Like so many,
Wow.
like just my symptoms would progressively get worse. Like even on the
Hmm.
farm, I was sitting on the couch one day and I go to get up and I couldn't get up. I couldn't walk. I couldn't move. Like, and so I sat there
Wow.
for like an hour and then I finally was able to get up, but I could only shuffle around. And then a day later, a
Hmm.
friend recommended a chiropractor and I got to the chiropractor and it took me like a week to be able to walk. And it was just like,
That's
what?
crazy. That's scary.
Yeah, it was scary, but I don't know why, but I didn't go to the doctor, I just, because
Yeah.
I didn't go to doctors growing up. I didn't go to dentists growing up. I mean,
Yeah. You didn't really have faith in them anyways after your experience. So
yeah,
yeah. So
exactly.
that just kind of like passed and got better.
Yeah, it
The
passed, it got
Okay.
better, and then just different things would come and go because that's how
Hmm.
symptoms are, right? It's not
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
you always have one thing to deal with. It's like when I had a
Yeah.
headache, all the other pains would go away. But when I had like the leg pain,
Yeah.
I didn't seem to have a headache or, but
That's
one day I
true.
couldn't
That's true.
walk, one day I could, one day just so many
You were
symptoms.
kind of a hot mess.
Exactly. Yes, and it just wasn't getting better. Like, um,
Yeah.
so some people
So
go to
when
the
you
doctor and they get these labels, these names, but I
yeah,
didn't get it. But I have a
yeah,
feeling that I was on my way to, a label like fibromyalgia
sure.
or
Yeah.
Lyme's or something.
Right, right. Yeah, something was not right, obviously. So then you made this drastic overnight, which that part just blows my mind,
Yeah.
overnight switch. And for how long were you including starches and cooked foods before you started switched over to raw?
Well, a long time. Like
Okay.
I transitioned very slowly because I understood Arnold Ehret's words. I
Hmm.
mean, but at the same time, I mean, it's hard to encompass a 10-year journey, but I would say in year
Yeah.
1 to 2, I was just going hard on like lots of cooked food, lots of
Hmm.
salads, lots of fruit, and even cooked fruit.
Hmm.
And then I learned about Dr. Morris. And so I started trying,
Robert
like,
Morris.
yeah, Robert Morris,
Okay.
Dr.
Oh yeah,
Robert
Morse, right.
Morris.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I said his name wrong.
No, 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 it's okay. It just came to me too. So yeah.
Yeah. And so I started incorporating, juice cleansing. I actually did a whole year on fruit only.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Did you have
yeah,
variety of fruit or did you choose one like the
no, it
a
was a
variety?
variety.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And but I wasn't getting better, I still had symptoms in year 3 and 4.
Okay.
Like I was getting better, but I still had, some headaches, and I
Yeah.
was tired all the time, and I couldn't figure out why
Yeah.
until I learned until natural hygiene, until that information came into my
Okay.
scope of knowledge, and then it started to click that I wasn't providing my body with all the conditions for health. Like the body needs balance, and it's quite
Mhm.
extreme to sort of just only eat fruit. Like you do need
Mhm.
the leafy greens. We do need a bit of variety, some nuts and seeds, or
Okay.
healthy fats, things like that.
Okay.
So yeah, it was when the natural hygienic information came in that I went 100% raw,
Mhm.
or sorry, living foods.
No, I know I said it too. I mean, that was
Yeah,
just a little side note. But yeah.
yeah, and that
Um,
was probably in I guess year 7. Like it was the
okay.
last 2-3 years that I've really stepped it up, and
Okay.
yeah, but I mean, it's always been just fruits, greens, and vegetables.
Right, right. Okay. And when you switch over to the natural, you call it natural hygiene diet, right?
Well, it's
Or
based on hygienic principles, but I just call it the natural diet.
the natural diet. Okay.
Yeah,
So when you made that switch into the natural diet, then you stopped with the squash and sweet potatoes and things like that,
yeah. I
the
mean,
cooked foods.
unless it's a special occasion like Christmas time, or
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
but yeah, for the most part,
Okay.
it's just on a nightly basis. I just eat my giant salad, like the size of probably what a family of 4 would eat,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
with veggie fruits, or because I'm in a cold climate, I grow sprouts here all year round because
Nice. That's
yeah,
smart.
it's just to make sure that there's some actual nutrition in the food.
Yeah. Do you add microgreens?
Yeah, sometimes I buy them at the store, or I do have a setup in here to grow them, but for
Cool.
some reason
Yeah.
I just didn't do it this year. I have all the trays, the seeds, the lights, everything. It's
Okay.
like,
I'm really surprised to hear that you did fruit for an entire year and didn't completely heal everything because it seems like that's like the ultimate in cleansing yourself and resetting your body from stuff that I've read and watched. But yet when you say the body needs balance, that of course resonates with me as more healthy. So can you tell us, unless you already encapsulated pretty much what it is, but can you tell us a little bit more about the natural diet? It sounds like it's greens, fruits, and nuts and seeds. In your big salad, I know I'm asking too many questions, but in your big
yeah, no,
salad,
it's fine. That's what we're here for.
do you use a cold pressed oil or do you just have some like avocado and mash it up in there? Like, just tell us the details now.
Sure. Okay. There's so much. So okay, I'll go back to like why I call it the natural diet is because we're
Yeah.
frugivores by nature. Through my my experience, my research studies and whatnot, I absolutely believe this to be true, and it has been proven in, many documents and whatnot, but many people still argue, and there's so much conflicting information out there.
Yeah.
That's actually, part of the reason why, as a whole, we're having so many issues is because we're bombarded with so much information. People just have to pick and choose what they think might be true.
They have to try it for themselves. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think.
exactly. And so I
Yeah.
have tested it for myself. But frugivores by nature, they eat, by volume, about 50% fruits to 50% leafy greens, and they
Okay.
both complement each other. Like the fruits have the healthy sugars, that's what our brain runs on. That's our natural cellular fuel, like the healthy
Mm-hmm.
fruit sugars, and the leafy greens offer, the healthy minerals and ultimate hydration. Like they're the most hydrating. So are a
Mm-hmm.
lot of juicy fruits, but and then minimal nuts and seeds or avocado or plant fats.
Mm-hmm.
And veggie fruits for like the sodium, like tomatoes, cucumber,
Celery,
yeah,
cucumber. Yeah. Okay.
all that. So that's
Okay.
basically what makes up our natural diet. And
Okay.
so I mean, I've transitioned slowly. When I first began, I was eating, salads in the morning with vegetables because I was always so hungry, and,
Yeah.
I couldn't be satiated. But over time, as your body gets cleaner, um, you, that kind of like calms down, and
Yeah.
you kind of fall into a little more natural rhythms. And so like a day for me looks like I wake up and I'm not actually hungry till 12 or 1 o'clock, but before
Hmm.
that I drink water. I drink a lot of water, a couple
Okay.
liters on an empty stomach at least.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have my first meal of juicy fruit, usually, unless it's bananas, smoothie bowl, or something.
Mm-hmm.
And the key to making this diet successful is to eat until you're comfortably satisfied. Like, and this is where I went wrong in the first few years, is that I didn't realize how much we had to actually eat. But if you
Yeah.
think about it, like an orange tree or an apple tree or any fruit tree, it grows in abundance. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why? It's like
Mm-hmm.
because we're meant to maybe sit under that orange tree and just eat until we're full, right? Like an animal would.
And that'd
And
be
then you move,
nice. Yeah.
yeah, and then you move on, and you don't think about food for 4 or 5 hours because you're satiated and you're full and
Yeah.
hydrated. And so that's what we teach people, is to eat until you're comfortably satisfied. Like you got to eat good sized meals, because back in the day when I was eating, maybe 3 oranges, and then I'd be like starving half an hour
Mm-hmm.
later, and I'm wondering, why isn't this diet working for me? And then I'm eating something else, and then the combinations are
Yeah.
wrong, and then I'm getting fermentation and nothing's working.
And the bloating and
Yeah, and
yeah.
the bloating, and it's like, okay, so now I finally got myself to the point where I eat a giant meal around
Mm-hmm.
12, 1 o'clock, and today it
Of
was
fruit or
of
of fruit
fruit,
and veggies.
just fruit.
Okay.
So today I ate 3 pounds, I think it was 3 pounds of grapes, like at
Oh,
once,
nice.
like
Yeah.
a good huge thing of grapes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
I
great.
ate all that, and then I actually was still hungry, like between 1 and 12 and 2, I eat like as much fruit as I want.
Mm-hmm.
But so I ate the grapes and I ate a few bananas, and I was good.
Yeah.
And then I'll have dinner. I'll drink some more water in between, like another liter or so,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll have dinner at like 5, 6 o'clock. And like I said, it's like a salad the size of like what a family of 4 would eat, maybe
Mm-hmm.
5.
Yeah. I
But,
can picture the great big old bowl. Yeah.
oh yeah, I've got pictures. I can send them to you.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll wrap that up in nori wraps, or you
Oh,
know
good idea.
on
Yeah.
the weekend, sometimes I get a little more creative, and I'll make wraps in my dehydrator when my
Oh, yeah.
husband comes home, when Ricardo comes home, or I'll, get a little bit more creative. But for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm by myself, I just eat my salad, and I'll eat dates after for dessert, and I'm good.
Yeah.
Um,
Sounds very similar. Have you ever heard of Marcus Rothkranz and Kara Brotman?
oh yeah,
Yeah. Sounds really similar to how they eat. Would
yeah,
you say there's any difference?
yeah, I would. They're very high. They're actually more like raw keto. Like they eat a lot of fats.
Oh, that's true. She does use a lot of like cashews and stuff like that for her dressings, right?
Yeah, and I
Okay.
was doing that, but it just doesn't work for me. Like, I just don't feel my best with the fats, and unfortunately, I wish I did because they're delicious, but
Mm-hmm.
I just
Mm-hmm.
don't. So if I do eat fats, which
Hmm.
I'm just eating fats, like overt fats on the
Yeah.
weekend now, just because we still get 5 to 7% fat in our diet just by eating fruits and leafy greens, and people are like shocked
Wow.
to hear this, but
Yeah.
you can go on this app. It's called Chronometer.com,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
and you can input all the food you ate for the day, and you'll see how much protein, how much fat, that you're
Mm-hmm.
getting from your overall diet. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like, I'm never deficient or lacking in any way, just with the fruits, the greens, the veggie fruits, the
Yeah.
date. Um, but I try and keep the nuts and the seeds and the fats to a minimum because that's how I feel best. But
And how do you feel when when you did try that? Like, did it just make you feel sluggish or just digestive issues or what?
yeah, if I overdo the fats, I'm really tired the next day, and I won't like get my workout in, or I won't
Okay.
like I don't know. I just feel like very lazy if I overdo the
Yeah.
fats. It's just because I know I'm going into excessive digestion. Like my body just doesn't want them. I wish it did. I love avocados.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what I'm kind of picturing. Like a big salad is absolutely delicious. But I have to admit, like when I've done that phase of my life, I was doing like, and you probably don't do this, but I was doing cold pressed olive oil and then squeeze lemon juice and then sprinkle some salt and like massage it in, like
Yeah,
to make the kale softer and stuff like that. And it was so delicious. But
yeah.
I'm trying to picture a salad without the fats. You know, what do you do? Do you like blend up some fruit and make it like a sauce, or is it a dry salad?
I've tried the fruit sauces. I've tried so many things, and I'm still always experimenting. I don't know what it
Yeah.
is. I keep thinking someday I'm gonna figure out a fat-free dressing that I really like. But
Yeah.
so far, and this is what I'm having tonight, is it's just blended dates with blended like juice from probably 2 lemons.
Okay.
So it's lemons and dates,
Sweet and
and
sour.
yeah, and it's blended until it's very smooth, and then so
Okay.
it's like a sweet and sour dressing, and that's what I have. I mean,
Yeah.
I even like do sometimes, like if tomatoes are in season, I'll do tomatoes with dates and blend that.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
even that, like, to be honest, I don't enjoy my overt fat free days as much as I enjoy my fat days.
Yeah.
But I want
But
to
you
feel
don't
my
feel as
best.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a catch 22 there. Gotcha. Um, Backing up for people that were listening, you said a ways back, you said that lady said you have candida. The common belief would be, but now you're eating all this fruit and vegetables, and that's going to
Yeah.
cause candida or contribute to it. So how do you answer that?
Okay. Well, first of all, just for the record, when she told me that, that was before I even started eating lots of fruit.
Right.
I
Right.
wasn't
Correct.
eating much fruit, but people do believe that the sugar is the cause for like these fungal overgrowths in the body, which is like
Right.
candida. But sugar, what infuriates me is that the mainstream lumps all sugar into one category, so they don't distinguish.
I
Yeah,
see what you're saying.
between
Yeah.
the fruit sugar or the processed sugar,
Huge
or
difference.
yeah, or even starch. Like when you have, say, a
Yeah.
potato, and then that's complex sugar, and that breaks down. Like everything's sugar essentially, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
everyone blames the fruit. They're like, "Oh, I have diabetes. I can't eat fruit." And it's like, and then I say, "Well, were you eating fruit to develop your diabetic condition?" And
Hmm.
then they kind of look at me and they're like, "No, actually." I'm like, "Yes, because it's the fats that contribute to the diabetic condition, like the fried foods,
Yeah.
the excess heavy fats, and then it's the donuts and the pastries and the complex sugars
Hmm.
that contribute to the diabetic condition. It's not the fruit. The simple sugars of fruit are
Yeah.
actually easily absorbed by the cells. It doesn't
Yeah.
it but the problem is if somebody has an unnatural diet and then they are eating fruits, they often will react and blame the fruits for their
Mhm.
issues when really it's
Mhm.
their internal condition. They're full of toxins and they're full of wastes. And so when the healthy fruit sugars enter the body, they get all sorts of, like, maybe they'll get some bloating, or they'll get
Mhm.
diarrhea, or they'll get digestive issues, or all sorts of things happen, some intolerances, and then they'll be like, oh, the fruit's no good for me.
Yeah.
And then they blame the fruit. And it's like, well, you kind of have to go through a process. You
Okay.
have to clean out the body before the fruits are really going to be super beneficial.
Yeah. And that makes sense based on the mucusless diet principle that their organs, their colon, everything's clogged and all the mucus is around the membranes. And so the nutrients can't absorb into the walls because you have all this crud there that needs to come out first, right?
Exactly, yeah. And that's why
Okay.
a lot of the malabsorption issues are, like, people's intestinal walls are just coated with impacted, and
Yeah.
uh, the fats and everything, and they're just coated, and they can't absorb their nutrition
Yep.
properly. And
Oh,
then they think, oh no, I'm losing weight because I'm eating these healthy foods, and they don't realize that there's such a process that people don't want to endure. And I had to endure that process, and it wasn't fun. Like, I mean,
tell us about that then. So somebody that wants to do this properly and not have the bloating and the side effects from transitioning, are you saying that they should do a fast, water only fast or something for like so many days to clean out most of that mucoid plaque? Or do they have to go on a grapes only diet for a month? Or like, what's the best way to transition?
well, what I believe today is not the way I did it
Yeah,
back
right.
then.
Yeah.
I believe that, fasting is beneficial when done at the correct time, but we don't need to push the body or stress the body. And if somebody isn't drawn to fasting, then don't fast. But
Hmm.
um, people need to realize that it is a transition, and it is going to be uncomfortable for a while, to various degrees, depending on your internal condition to begin with,
Hmm.
and that there's no really getting around. Like, you can transition slowly, and that helps to mitigate some of the symptoms that may arise and
Hmm.
whatnot. But at the end of the day, when we're transitioning back to our natural diet and we're letting go of foods that don't serve us, um, it's a process, and many symptoms can and often do arise, such as bloating. But we know how to do this correctly now, and that's why we walk people through it in our natural human diet. Like, for instance, people don't realize how important it is to drink water every day, and that can really help mitigate a lot of the symptoms.
Okay.
And people think, oh, well, water isn't hydrating, they think, in fruitarian groups, or they think the fruit's hydrating enough so they don't need anything else. Or,
Okay.
they think these things. But because our diets have been so unnatural from day one, and
Hmm.
dehydrating, because if our food's not hydrating, then it's dehydrating. So,
Yeah.
like, if we eat crackers, for instance, the body's got to steal water from various places in the body to
Yeah.
hydrate that, to move it along so it doesn't damage you. And
Yeah.
so, like, everything that we eat that's dehydrating is stealing water from various areas of
Ourselves.
the body. Yeah, our
Yeah.
cells and everything. So it's like, um drinking water really can help mitigate the symptoms. So, like, we always suggest to start off with at least 3 liters, even to a gallon and a half of water a day. But that's
Hmm.
hard for people to work up to.
Yeah.
And that can really help. Um, Eating
Pause.
lots of salads with steamed veggies, that's a good transition food. And just slowly working your way up to the raw foods, fruits. Some people even start
Yeah.
with little cooked fruits if their symptoms are bad. And then eventually just transitioning. It becomes like a process of listening to your body and understanding the information, and just sort of incorporating it to the best of your ability, given your situation, your
Yeah.
circumstances, your willingness. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you think that in the principles of natural hygiene or natural diet, do you think that one reason it's causing like bloating and upset as you're transitioning is just because your gut is populated with the wrong kind of microbes It's populated with the kind of microbes that could deal with the SAD diet, but now when you transition slowly, it starts populating itself with different microbes that are able to digest the new types of food that you're feeding it, and then eventually the bad ones die off, and you have all the good ones and then that's why you don't have any more digestive issues after a while.
Yeah, I mean that's part of it, and also just the mere fact that we're usually pretty full of waste, and there's waste, all throughout the body. Like you said, there's mucus and various like organs and glands, and then our
Yeah.
our intestines are impacted, and then our stomachs, they have like, so it's like it just takes a little while to flush that out and to get rid of the waste through their various eliminative channels, like through the
Yeah.
kidneys, through the bowels, through our skin. We might get acne coming up
Mhm.
while the body's
Mhm.
eliminating. We get dry scalp. Like I went through dry, itchy scalp for a while. Um,
Okay.
there's so many detox symptoms. And then people, the problem though, is that people, if they don't really understand what's happening, they don't know what to do. And so you need to understand what's happening, right? And
Yeah,
what's
otherwise they
happening.
blame it on the food, like you say.
Yeah, exactly. And so some
Okay.
people, like for myself, because I understood so deeply, every symptom that came up, I didn't care. I knew I had to go through it,
Mm,
and I just went through it, and I did nothing intelligently. But for a lot of people that I work with, like they're getting some hair loss, for
mhm,
example,
mhm.
or they're getting dry itchy scalp, or their eye goes blurry for a day, or anything
Mhm.
can happen, and
Yeah.
they freak out. And it's like, and then they're very worried, and it's like, if you understand the process, and you know that you're not putting anything harmful anymore, so
Yeah.
you're not creating any new symptoms, you can't
Yeah.
be causing any problems because you're not eating anything harmful anymore. So anything that's happening to you is just old stuff coming out, kind of thing.
Yeah. That's a
But
great summarization of it, because for some reason, like I could wrap my head around that when it comes to animals. But just now as you were talking, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess the same principle applies. That they're going to get sicker before they get better, but it's not what you're doing; it's all the crap coming out.
yeah.
So nothing to freak out about. You just have to pass through the storm to get to the other side.
Exactly. And it's like, when the cold and flu like symptoms come and everyone runs to the doctor, or they
Yeah.
take their pet, their pet's not feeling well, instead of just doing nothing intelligently and
Hmm.
just resting, hydrating, and waiting for it to pass, we freak out and think we have to do something. And that's when the
Yeah.
trouble really arises, is when we start taking things. We're like, oh no, like I have this symptom. What can I do? What can I take? What
Yeah.
can I do? And then that's when, when we try and mess with nature and
And
nature's
nature just wants us
processes.
to rest,
Yeah,
right? Just
exactly.
rest. Okay.
Rest and drink
And hydrate.
water. And hydrate.
Okay.
It's too
No, that's
simple though. It sounds crazy.
yeah, no, that's very good. It's a paradigm shift, truly. Um, I had a random question back to the when you were talking about drinking so much water. I know that Robert Young's book talks about using baking soda to help alkalize. What's your thoughts on that part? If you're drinking that much
Um,
water.
no, we don't need to add anything to our water. And, the body doesn't alkalize through our water intake. It's through like our inner terrain. And like that's a band aid effect. So I mean, sure, we can drink some alkaline water, which is the with the baking soda,
Hmm.
and then
Yeah.
our pH strip might read alkalinity for a bit, but
Hmm.
that's just a band-aid effect. That's not how you truly alkalize, the body, or the body. Its pH and whatnot will be what it is based on all your habits and lifestyle choices
Yeah.
combined. And
Yeah.
so it's actually quite harmful to drink, baking soda in water. In fact, in my opinion, anyways, and
Hmm.
from
Hmm.
what I've learned, is that we don't really want to be taking anything that isn't a whole natural food in its natural form. Like,
Hmm.
I don't take any herbs, I don't take any supplements, I don't take any vitamins, I don't take any baking soda, I don't take any spirulina, I don't take any superfoods, any powders, any isolates,
Hmm.
any protein powders, nothing.
Because none of those can you pick out of the ground or off of a tree, right? That's the principle,
Exactly.
because it's not in its natural form.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
And but
Okay.
it did take me a long time to get there too. I mean, back in the day, I was a Dr. Morris student, and I took the detox
Right.
specialist program, and I
Wow.
worked with people, and I worked with
Yeah.
herbs, and
Yeah.
until I,
Tinctures. And, yeah.
yeah, until I realized like and saw a lot of things that were happening, and I put things together in my own mind. And, I started
Hmm.
suggesting that people maybe take a break from the herbs for a week. And then I was noticing that, they were feeling better. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, it's just like this whole thing. Such a
Yeah. Yeah. So you can, I love your story because you lived it, right? It's a firsthand experience for you. And you also can see why people are so confused because here, Dr. Robert Young says to do this, and then Dr. Robert Morse says to do this, and then Dr. Furman says to do this, and
Mhm.
Kara and Marcus say to do that. And
Yeah.
it's just like, like who's right? And, and yet, you might think, well, I'm going to listen to the doctors, right? Not just somebody on YouTube or whatever. But
Yeah.
then, but then in the doctor world, you can listen to any number of doctors and completely get completely opposite advice. A carnivore doctor versus a vegan doctor versus on and on.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so it's just absolutely insane. So what would you say, just your own personal opinion on this, what would you say about somebody that has the same story as yours, except for flipped? I've been watching videos about people. I won't even mention who they are at the moment, but who had the acne, had the psoriasis, had the, felt horrible, had achy joints, fatigued all the time. And I have a cat, and so the cat hair is floating around in the air.
Yeah.
Um, anyways, and and they were vegan, and then they switched to animal foods, and now they're healthy. Like, I've seen a ton of those videos, and I'm so confused. The only thing I can think of is at this point, because I've researched both sides, the only thing I
Mhm.
can think of at this point is that maybe some things work for some individuals and they don't work for others, and we're just all individual. And yet I would like to believe that there's a species appropriate diet for humans. It makes sense. And yet that other side
Yeah.
says the exact same thing, but it's completely 180 opposite.
And I hear you. I've also been through the research, and I've examined both sides,
Yeah.
and so my take on it is that those individuals that go towards the meat side,
Hmm.
generally it's not the meat that's healing them, and it's not the diet that they're eating now. Like say they're eating meat, salad, um anyways, they attribute it to the meat diet they're healing, but what I attribute it to is everything that they just eliminated. And a lot of
Yeah.
people eating vegan diets can be just as
Very
unhealthy, if
unhealthy.
not even more unhealthy than a meat diet sometimes, because there's so much processed vegan junk,
Yeah.
or they're eating like a lot of complex carbohydrates all the time, like bread and
Yeah.
heavy stuff. So usually, like what I found, because I've examined a lot of individuals too that claim that they've healed this and that, and
Hmm.
they do get symptom relief. I mean, I'm
Hmm.
not denying that they
Hmm.
do clear up their skin,
And they look
but
really pretty. Like, there's some people that I'm thinking of that just look beautiful. They look great.
yeah,
They look very healthy. And they're
and
and as do you. You're beautiful. You look like you're in your 20s, and you said you're 45.
yeah,
You look hydrated, you look really healthy. And so it's like, well, dang it. How can you be so healthy? And let's just go extreme here for a minute, because this diet is kind of extreme compared to like most average Americans, right?
yeah,
So there's this extreme, and then there's, let's just say, the carnivore diet, where they're not having even any greens or fruits.
right, yeah. Yeah. What is it? No. What's his name? The vegetable police. He's doing the carnivore
Oh,
diet.
yeah, I've seen his channel. I haven't actually watched it yet, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I stopped listening because he just, after like so many years of seeing him go carnivore to vegan to fruitarian to carnivore, I was
Oh,
like,
does
okay.
he's tried them all.
Oh
Is
yeah,
it,
and he's
oh,
trying and he keeps doing it, and
wow.
he's a mess because I mean he does give each diet quite some time, but he
Yeah.
never quite, I don't know. Anyways, so back to
Yeah. I'm just
individuals. So I
yeah.
think that each situation does need to be judged on its own individual circumstances, first of all, because it's hard to have these like blanket statements for each
Yeah.
person, like, oh, a carnivore diet healed me. Well, okay, but before you went carnivore, you were eating donuts and processed hamburgers, and
Mhm.
say you're eating like the crappiest diet ever, and then you go to
Mhm.
carnivore. Well, it's not the meat that's healing you, it's the fact that you just eliminated so much toxic garbage that
Yeah.
your body, you lifted burden on the body, and now
Yeah.
it can heal somewhat. But I will say that I believe that the people like eating carnivore diets, they'll never heal completely. They will get some symptom relief. Yes, they will look good. And anyone who's below 35, I usually don't look at, because
They're gonna look
but
good. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's when I call those the forgiving years. You can like drink a bottle of wine and
You're
do
right.
whatever, and then
Yeah.
you wake up and do it the next day. But and I used to
Yeah.
be able to do that in my 20s. But
Right.
now, like if I eat like just something with salt in it, I'll see it in my skin the next day. I'll be like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Like,
Right, right.
nope.
I hear you. Yeah,
Yeah,
so the proof is really the older ones. I agree with you on that.
yeah,
How do they look at their age? So that's one thing I'm really impressed with, like Kara Brotman. She's like so beautiful. And, there, Marcus did a video about, all these women that were vegan and they looked like supermodels and they were like all like 45 and older, like up into their 60s, and they just looked
yeah.
incredible. So that is a lot of proof. Um, I guess I'll have to go find me some older carnivores and see what they look like to
Yeah,
compare. But
yeah, find the older carnivores, but like I said, each situation's kind of got to be judged on its own, and it's nice to know like people's backgrounds, but it's so hard to figure it all out just from a single post. Someone could be like, I'm eating carnivore, and then there's a picture of them and their meat and they look great, and
yeah.
well, they just shot that on their best day, and I don't know,
Yeah.
it's like
Well, like the girl I'm thinking of most recently, I'll just mention it, I guess. It's Steak and Butter Gal. And she's an Asian girl. I think she's from China, or well, from the States, but her family's from China. And she said she was vegan for 6 years. And I would just assume that she was legit vegan because I know, a lot of Asian people that are vegan and they, do eat a lot of vegetables and stuff like that. But then again, to your point, um, well, hold on. Vegan. Yeah, so she could have been having rice and things like that that would not be the natural diet, right? And that might have
probably a
been
lot of,
giving her symptoms, right?
if I
Um,
had to like assume, I would probably assume, maybe a lot of fried rice and deep
possibly,
fried
yeah.
vegetables and things
Yeah.
like that sometimes too, because a lot of like cultures are very, they've gone really heavily into the oils and whatnot, and
You're
those,
right. Those seed oils are the worst poisons.
they are, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean they taste so good. When I smell olive oil, I'm just like, oh, that smells so good, but it's
Yeah.
not for me.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's interesting that you just mentioned that. It made me question myself because when I said seed oils, I was picturing like the canola, the cottonseed,
Oh yeah,
you know.
that's the
But
worst. Sure.
cold pressed olive oil, I guess I'm not convinced that it's bad, but at the same time, I do readily admit that it's not something that you would just find in nature, right? It is
Yeah.
processed to even get to that to be
Well, I
oil.
mean, olive oil would be, if I were to choose an oil, would be cold pressed olive oil for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
one of the least bad.
Definitely
Yeah,
not the rapeseed oil, the canola oil. That stuff
right.
is definitely not healthy. But just
Yeah.
as soon as you heat up any oil, it definitely is. I mean, already it's a fractionated
Yep.
processed product, unfortunately. And
Right.
I mean, some family members of mine, some of my
Mhm.
kids, they eat olive oil sometimes. So
Yeah.
I just try not to ever heat it up for them, just have it
Correct.
raw. But
Yeah, yeah, that's where I was, when I was doing the big salads like Kara, I would, drizzle just the raw on top of my salad, and it made a big difference,
yeah,
um, but then again, just some avocado smashed up on it really helps too. Um,
yeah. Oh yeah, I love avocado massage
yeah,
the salad.
yeah, me too, and then some lemon juice, and I don't know if is salt allowed on the natural diet?
Well, we
Probably
teach
not.
people to transition away from it. Like the body
Okay.
does need sodium, and we do require sodium, but we get that, from
Oh, right, for those vegetables.
cucumber, tomatoes. Yeah. So
Okay.
we do transition away from rock salt, but I mean, everyone's just got to decide what's right for them, how far they want to take it. Sometimes, I'll be honest,
Mhm.
sometimes I wonder, like, did I really want to take it this far? Because now, if I do eat something,
It makes you
it
sick.
yeah, I feel
Yeah.
because you get so clean and your body reacts to everything so quickly that,
Yeah.
like, if I eat, like, some oiled potatoes or something, the next day I'm gonna feel awful. And so it's,
Yeah.
but then it's like, our world, it is what it is. So it's like, do
Yeah.
you really, you gotta kind of decide how far you want to take things, to be honest.
Yeah, I can't help but wonder still from all my research if it's a matter of the body being so clean that it can't handle it, or if it's a matter of your gut biome has changed so drastically that you just don't have any microbes in there that can digest that, what you just mentioned, you know?
Right. Well, I attribute it to, because I also notice it with, like, say, air fresheners, like, or somebody bleached the floor. If I
Oh,
walk
yeah,
into
I
a room,
hate chemicals.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I went to do this yoga class the other day, or this stretching class, and
Yeah.
um and they had just bleached the floors, and I went in and I was just like, oh, like I had to stand at the door, and right away
Oh,
I
yeah.
reacted and my senses and, like, my
Yep.
defenses come up. And it's like, and I feel
Yeah.
awful, and people think, oh, you're weak, you're just like a weak.
Yeah.
And it's
Th
like, no, you can't smell it. It doesn't bother you because, like,
Yeah.
you're. I don't want to say it like.
They're clogged up or they're
Yeah,
desensitized or
exactly.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I love that analogy because I'm the same way. Like even my shampoo, this is gonna sound weird, but my shampoo claims that you can drink it if you wanted to and you'd be
Oh
fine.
wow.
So like everything I have, my soaps, everything in my house, I don't use fabric softeners, I don't use any
Yeah.
chemicals. So when I'm around that, if I go for a ride with somebody in their car and it smells like Febreze, I
Yeah.
want to gag and I get a migraine, or just any, like you say, any chemical.
That's good. I think that's a good, because your body has its correct defense mechanisms in place and it's warning you right away, right? Other people
Yes.
can sit in a bleached room and they don't get, but they're soaking that into the, if you're breathing it, you're eating it. And it's like,
Yeah. And
yeah,
if people just knew that they could, so again, I don't know how this diet plays into this, but in my mind, so like I clean with colloidal silver and hydrogen peroxide and stuff like that. And it works great and it's sanitizes and things like that. Um, and there's no smell and no chemical, with it. So if people just knew that they could use products like that, they don't have to use all these chemicals or like these just, oh man, the hand soaps kill me,
oh
just
yeah.
you go to the bathroom at Walmart and you wash your hands and then they just stink like chemicals for the rest of the day.
I have to admit, I've never used the hand soap in a public bathroom. I just wash with water, and
Okay.
that's it. Water's a solvent. It's actually strong enough
Yeah.
to remove anything that needs to be removed. And as long as
Yeah.
you're healthy, because it's about your inner terrain, like,
Yeah.
I can go around sick people all the time, and I don't have any issues, right? But
I love that you just said that. I know we're kind of getting up on time, but do you mind just explaining for the audience briefly what the terrain theory is? Because that was definitely a paradigm shift for me when I
yeah.
first was introduced to that.
Yeah, it is. So I guess in the mainstream circles, we're kind of taught about germ theory and how there's these, like, you know, it's like a fairy tale in my mind. It's like
Yeah.
germs and
Yeah.
they're floating through the air and they're just waiting to infect anybody, healthy, sick. They're just waiting to take you down, right? And if you get
Yeah.
germs on you, you're going to get sick. And so you don't
Yeah.
want to go around anyone with germs or anyone who's sick because you might catch it and all this. So,
Yeah. The
um,
boogeyman.
yeah, the boogeyman. So we teach the opposite, and and I've proven it to myself too many times to count that
Have you?
I
Oh, cool. Okay.
yeah, oh yeah. I
Okay.
mean, I've been around people that apparently had COVID. I was like, give me a hug. They were like, what? Like, you're
Yeah.
crazy. And I was like, no, come on.
So,
Anyway,
so you don't get sick anymore. Is that a fair statement? Like you've never gotten sick since you switched over to this?
well, I've had some detox symptoms in the first couple of years for sure. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
getting sick because that's what getting sick is anyways. I mean, it's not a
Right.
germ that infects you. It's you get
Right.
sick because your inner terrain
Is
um, it needs
kicking it
to
out.
come out. And so when the body
Hmm.
wants to eliminate that, that's what a cold and a flu like symptom or a fever, all
Yeah.
this just eliminative symptoms, right? So
Yeah.
germ theory is incorrect as far as I'm concerned. It's
Hmm.
the terrain, it's your inner terrain, and it's the status or this yes, the status of your inner terrain. So
Hmm.
if you're full of toxins and mucus, you can easily, get sick at any time because the body will want to eliminate that garbage. And if you're not, probably what you're going to get sick from is if you like eat unnaturally one day, or if your body, like I haven't been sick for quite some time now. I
Okay.
can't remember the last time I was sick, but
Yeah.
yeah,
So to add to that, just in case it helps somebody watching to wrap their head around it, how I probably read this somewhere, but what I like the analogy of, you have a fish. So let's say you have a goldfish and it's swimming around in this clean water, and that's great. But then, you feed it some crap food, and maybe, well, the sad American diet, right? You feed it that, the water gets cloudy and gross. And then the goldfish starts to get sick. Oh no, let's take it to the doctor. Pump it full of antibiotics, pump it full of whatever prescription, and the goldfish is still sick and the water is still disgusting. And then it gets even more sick. So then you give it more medicine and you drop more crap in the water. The goldfish pretty soon's going to barely function, or die. And he's going to be really, really sick. The only way to save the goldfish is to take the poor thing out of that bowl, out of that terrain, and put it in a fresh, clean water terrain.
maybe
And
not too quickly now because once it's so used to all that garbage, you gotta transition slowly or the symptoms will be crazy.
oh, that's a really good point. So the poor goldfish has to go through some like less and less dirty water until it's finally in a clean water bowl, and so that it can actually, be healthy again. But yeah, that when I thought of that or read that somewhere, it just made so much sense to me. And I was like, heck yeah, the train theory definitely makes sense. I think there's at this moment, I'd have to think about it again because it's been a while since I've thought about train theory, but I think there's a couple examples where I'm like, but if that's real, then how come this, or, but
Yeah,
I don't, that's a whole nother, maybe we should come back for another video sometime and talk about terrain theory a little bit more to answer people's questions. But
for sure. I will say though, I think if germ theory were correct, then everybody would get sick every time they came into contact with somebody. Hands down, there would be no exceptions. But for some reason, like there's many, many exceptions because it just depends on your inner terrain and how healthy you are and
yeah, I
whatnot.
guess, the one thing that pops up for me when you say that though is just the theory of, so why do when people seem to get sick, it seems to happen in waves, like everybody gets sick at the office, or everybody. And I know like one answer to that would be, well, it's around the holidays and everyone's eating crap, right? So their terrain is dirtier, so they're going to get sick. But what about like a middle of the summer, like where stuff is just seems to be going through the office?
Well, that's when I think things need to be actually investigated, examined on their own individual situations once again. Because, like, who knows? Maybe they were all drinking toxic, like, water that week, or maybe
Mm,
somebody plugged in an air freshener and they all got sick.
mm,
I don't know. But, like,
yeah, yeah,
but it's just gotta, yeah, be judged on its individual situation and that at that
yeah,
point. But I do hear what you're saying. I mean, sometimes it does appear to be like one family member will get sick and then the other one will. And,
yeah.
I had it with
Goes.
my kids, but they were always eating
They
the
were
same. stuff and drinking the same stuff, and
They
so
were exposed to the same stuff. Yeah, that makes
yeah.
sense.
But they
So
would get
again,
sick at different rates. It seemed like one would get sick one day, and then 2 to 3 days later, the other one would get sick. But it's
right.
also based on their individual inner terrain and and how their body processes things. And it's just like, wow,
Uh-huh.
like so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, no, that it's definitely intriguing though. And that's the point of this video, I think, is to just start, just like throw some stuff out there for people to chew on and think about. Because that one is a big one that turned my paradigm upside down. And
Yeah, me too.
mostly I believe in it. I can't say I'm 110% like you, but you've tested it, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I ever do get sick, or I can explain why. So
Yeah.
I know why it is. Usually it's
Yeah.
just that I ate something that wasn't health promoting, and I
There you
poisoned
go.
myself, and it's like, ah, why did I do that?
Yeah,
Every
that's a good
in a
way to
while.
put it, actually. You poisoned yourself.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, I can't really eat out anymore because they're always using unhealthy oils. Every restaurant uses canola oil. They use lots of salt. It's
yeah.
just if I eat out at a vegan restaurant, even
Hmm.
it just I feel it so bad for a couple days. It's like not worth
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Sets you back. No, you're right. Yeah. I've recently been realizing that too. Yeah, you can't eat out pretty much.
It's
Cause
like
yeah, you
playing
just
Russian roulette because I mean, unless you prepare your own food, you don't know what's truly in it. Really.
yeah. Yeah. And if you're clean enough that you're sensitive to these things, you will notice it. And if anything, like someone trying to lose weight or whatever, they'll notice it because their body won't be dropping weight the next few days because it's dealing with all the inflammation from those seed oils and
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
that
Well,
stuff.
I mean, I call weight loss waste loss because it's just waste in the body that needs to come out too, right?
So
So
true. I love
that's
that. That's such a good analogy.
it's like
Yeah.
waste loss. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. All right. Well, can you think of anything that maybe I haven't asked you that you just want um people to know before we wrap this up?
Um, just that your health is actually your choice. Like it's all the way we look, function, think, and feel today is a summation of all our past and present dietary and lifestyle choices. So if you
Yeah.
want to feel good, if you want to like look your best, it may be a bit of a process, but anybody can become the best version of themselves. They just need the correct information, and it's not the truth is simple. It's not rocket science. It's not complicated. If something's overcomplicated, it's probably not true,
Sure.
the
Yeah, good point.
truth, nature, everything is so simple. And so like
Mm,
I would just say that if you want to feel your best, at the very least, incorporate more water, more fruit, more greens, and try
yeah.
and avoid anything that's got a ingredient list. That's what I'd say.
I love it. That's a great way to end this. And I did, of course, think of one more question. Would you like to talk about your book real quick? Just
Sure. Actually, I was going to bring it up because when we were
yeah.
talking earlier about how all these different doctors and all these different health enthusiasts or advocates, they all have different recommendations and it just gets so confusing. And
Yes.
so like the beginning chapter actually is like it states what is with this world, like even the experts can't agree
Yeah.
what's health promoting and what's not, and like what kind of world are we living in. And then so I have a chapter in here where I go through like all these different questions, and I say, what does Arnold Ehret say about say vinegars, for example, are they healthy or not? What
Hmm.
does Dr. Furman say? What does
Oh, you
um,
compare.
yeah, I compare. So I have like
That's
I
cool.
compare mainly with Dr. Robert Morse, Dr. Joel Furman, Arnold Ehret,
Hmm.
natural hygienic points of view, and what's the other one? I left out Robert Young. I did speak about him in the beginning because he was a catalyst to me
Hmm.
getting on the
Your
natural
journey.
diet, but I don't technically agree with a lot of his advice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just sort of, it was the starch solution guy.
Oh yeah, McDonald.
Yeah,
McDougal.
Dr.
McDougal.
McDougall. Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
so I compare. So I have a whole chapter where I compare different
yeah,
what they all say about different things, like
yeah.
from like enemas to are vinegars healthy to what they think about oils, what they think about certain foods, and all this. So,
That's cool.
and
It's like the
then
Cliff's notes of all their thoughts.
yeah, because I didn't want the book to just be all about me and my opinions. Because, like, at the
Hmm.
end of the day, I'm just a person who,
Hmm.
I'm just a layman. I'm not a doctor. And so I
Yeah,
wanted to incorporate other people's thoughts and, people who are more respected and have
yeah,
titles. And
mhm,
then obviously I give my opinions and, at the end of
yeah.
each chapter, like who I agree with and who I don't, and why. But
I love
so
that. That's smart.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's just like it's not just like speaking about the raw food diet and why it's so healthy. I mean, sure there's information about that, but I've got like my healing success story. I have a chapter on Dr. Robert Young. I have a chapter on Arnold Ehret, Robert Morris, Dr. John McDougall, natural hygiene, Dr. Joel Furman. And then
Hmm.
I have a whole chapter on dealing with headaches and unwanted symptoms because that was like my biggest
Mine too,
issues.
actually. Migraines really bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and I don't wish those on
Yeah.
anyone. Like it just wrecks your life. Like I
Yep.
would take any other pain other than except teeth pain, but headaches,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
horrible. And
Oh, I agree. When you said that you lost a lot of your life during that decade or whatever, that was me too.
yeah,
From like 22 years old up until 40.
and
I'm
did you
43
feel
now.
it? Okay. Did
Um,
you feel it?
I did, but you're probably not going to agree with how.
Okay.
But
No, you know what? I'm open to anything. I'm not like
okay.
so dogmatic. I like to hear people's experiences.
Okay. Yeah. No, I stumbled across so I had a really, really healthy friend that I told her I was thinking about getting the IUD because I had heavy periods. And she was like, no, no, don't get it. It's got synthetic hormones. It's going to, give you cancer. Don't get it. And so I listened to her, and a decade went by where my migraines were so bad. It just ruined my life, and I couldn't plan anything. And it was beautiful days, and I was in bed all day for, 3 days or whatever. And I literally kept track of them, and I would have 20 to 25 per month.
Oh,
So I would only have about 1 week out of the month where I felt kind of normal.
yeah.
Anyway, so eventually my periods got so out of control that I decided to go get an IUD. I'm like, screw it, I'm just going to go get one. And because it's supposed to help lighten the flow. And then 2 months after getting that, my periods have all but practically disappeared, and my migraines did too.
Wow. And so you didn't change anything else?
Nothing else. I attribute it to doing something to my hormones. It balanced out my hormones, or it did. I don't know what it did, but I'll take it. I killed two birds with one stone, and I'm not sure how healthy it is, but I don't have migraines like I used to in
Well,
any
I'm
way,
glad
shape,
you
or
don't
form.
experience migraines. I mean, I wouldn't wish that upon anybody.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, for myself too, it took a really long time to figure it out. And that's why I wrote a whole chapter on it. But yeah, I find
Yeah.
your story very interesting. I'd like to hear more, dig deeper sometime. But
Yeah. Yeah. We
there's not
should talk more.
time, yeah, at this point. But
Well,
um,
thank you for going over your book. Is it on available on Audible as well, or and if not, are you thinking about recording your voice on it?
I wish, like, I was going to, I wanted to put it on Audible,
Yeah.
but then I started getting into like the studio you need and the requirements and the microphone and how the voice clips need to be perfect. And I
Yeah.
got discouraged, to be honest. So it's on Amazon. It's available in Canada, US, UK,
Okay.
Australia, and it's very easy to find because it's just heal thyself.
Yeah, with the
Embracing our
Apple
natural.
one.
Yeah, it's very easy. Like the cover stands out because there's a lot of
It
titles.
does. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of books on there. I'm like, oh wow, because I didn't even care because I knew I needed to use this title. So I
Yeah.
didn't bother searching to see how many others were out there because I was going to use it.
Yeah, you
And
knew. Hmm.
yeah, and so when I went on to Amazon after, I was like, oh wow, there's quite a few. They're heal thyself, heal thyself. Um, Mine's embracing our natural diet for optimal.
Embracing our natural diet. Okay,
Yeah,
sounds good.
but it
Um,
really stands out because it's just so vibrant and it's got the app.
yeah.
But
At this moment, I can't think of the name of the website, but I know there's probably a place that you could like hire a voiceover for pretty cheap. I just can't think of what it's called right now.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Well, if you do, maybe you could just send
y-
the messenger to me. I should.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Just
I,
I promote Audible just because can't stand read. I think it's from back when I had migraines. I don't like to read because of that.
oh,
But I love
I
to
say,
listen to books constantly.
I was gonna say, do you want to do it? Yeah, I love to listen to books too that way because we're
Yeah,
so busy in this fast-paced life, but we can get a lot of information in when we're doing
yeah.
our daily chores and listening to audiobooks.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna get your book though, and maybe for fun, I'll do like a chapter and just see how hard it is. Like, I have the software, so
Oh,
maybe I
nice.
could do it. Yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
I would
play around
hire
with it.
you. I mean, I'm not rich, but we
No,
can work something out.
yeah, no, no, I'm not worried about that. It'd be fun. But anyways, okay. Well, we have gone on quite a long time. I'm so grateful for you and all the information that you shared tonight. I love how you were so open-minded, not dogmatic, like that. You didn't get upset when I started talking about carnivore. It was so refreshing to talk with you, and I just really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was really good to talk to you too. And I'll just say that like we live in this world and it is what it is. So if we can't get upset about everything that's going on, or it's just gonna take us down. So
Yeah, yeah.
for
Keep
sure.
keep it positive and what we believe in, right?
Yeah, and I'm so curious to hear about, I'd like to hear more about your story because I find that very interesting. I'm going through my head, like, how would an IUD stop migraines? But we'll talk about
Yeah.
it later.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, let's talk more. I'm so happy to have met you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much, Mariah.
you too. Bye,
Okay, have a
Sarah.
good one. Bye.